Hi, my name is Jaime. I would like to share with you today about a film that I recently saw. My So-Called Enemy, as it's titled, is an insightful film by Lisa Gossels. I attended a screening and a post-film discussion that was about discourse as a means to understanding. The film is a documentary that follows a group of Israeli and Palestinian teenagers, all girls, as they attend a summer camp in the United States that focuses on dialogue as a way to see the other as human beings. The discussion after the film was moderated by Dr. Anu Teranoff, a professor at the University of Washington, whose teaching and research centers around contemporary world and multi-ethnic literature, colonial and post-colonial literature and theory, and transnational feminist and cultural studies. Since anyone can see the film, but the discussion is colored by the place, time, and personalities present, I wanted to share a little bit about the ideas that came up following the screening of the film. This was put on by Hands for a Bridge, which is an organization that provides high school youth with opportunities to explore issues surrounding social justice in their local, regional, and international communities. So the post-film discussion began with sort of a gendered lens of dialogue and conflict resolution. Someone asked the question, how would this film, the dialogue, or the post-camp life of the youngsters in the film be different if it were all young men instead of young women? How might the scenario be different if it were Israeli and Palestinian 16 to 18-year-old young men working on conflict resolution skills rather than women? Why was it all women? What does gender have to do with conflict and peace? It was suggested by someone in the audience that men are expected by society to be aggressive, assertive, competitive, while women are expected to have dialogue and compromise. A high schooler in the audience noted that it seems that more men are more serious about sports, for example, something that does not generally embrace the concept of compromise. It is about winning and only winning. This seems to be the way young men are taught to be, expected to behave, and consciously or unconsciously embrace this model. Another young woman in the audience spoke up, in quotes summarized, "I feel like as a young woman I have more options than my male peers, less of a mold I'm expected to fit into, that I can dress how I want, express myself in any way." She then went on to say that she hopes there will be a revolution for young men to break out of society's expectations of them, as women have been able to do since the 1970s. I can somewhat identify with this. I feel as a woman I have options. I can have children and make it my full-time work to raise them. I can climb the corporate ladder. I can start my own business, or I can be a laborer. I feel extremely free in what I want to do with my life and how I want to express myself. Being a male, I can't say how they would feel. So I do feel as though they may have more expectations to bring home the bacon, for example. After that, an older woman spoke up for all the gray-haired women in the audience, and she countered that there's a huge generation divide. In her generation and her mother's, they definitely felt that men had choices and women did not. It was also noted that there is a geographic chasm. All young women in the world do not feel this way as this high school student. With conflict resolution, women have historically been the ones who are expected to take on this role. A middle-aged man spoke up in defense of men, that women are not always innocent. In his experience, they often perpetuate conflict just as much as the men. I would venture to say that if women were in more positions of political power in the world, there would probably be less violence as a way to deal with conflict on a global scale. Near the end of the discussion, it was brought up that the power dynamic was almost ignored. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not just two groups that cannot seem to come to a consensus, but the Israelis are in a position of power, while the Palestinians, and Arab Israelis for that matter, seem to be subordinate, as it is with the whites in South Africa or men in most societies to women. There was one scene in the film where during a dialogue session, an Arab Israeli girl said something about how the Jewish were always controlling her life. She didn't want to listen to them in Israel, and especially now that they were in the U.S., she doesn't have to listen to them. Someone brought up the phrase, "With great power comes great responsibility," which is attributed to Voltaire as well as Jesus Christ. And the moderator brought up the fact that we are privileged in a way since we do not have to be afraid of rockets hitting our homes, or the bus we're sitting on blowing up, or the cafe being blown to smithereens, or even a wall being built in the middle of our city to divide us from our friends and family. With not having to worry about these things, what greater achievements can it allow us to make? What can we do who are not distracted or disheartened by violence going on around us? Conflict resolution and the concept of dialogue or discourse to promote understanding does not only rest in the hands of those with the biggest problems to contend with. Those of us with less challenge to deal with on a day-to-day basis may have more capacity to take action. If you like my videos, you can see more of what I write on my blog. You can click the links below this to learn more about me. Thanks for watching.